All right. Happy Friday. I hope you're having a really great morning or evening or whenever you're watching this video. I'm Tracy Brown. I'm your somatic dietitian and attuned eating specialist. And in this video, we are going to talk about basically maybe all the questions you have had, or you're just still kind of getting through all the materials that I presented this week, and you're trying to understand more about how this applies to you, maybe what your observations are yourself, and just in general, you're interested in learning more. So let's just dive in and get started. So on Monday, we talked a little bit about Nervous System 101 and how if we are in a threat state, obviously it's going to definitely impact your physiology. So we talked about how if you're in the sympathetic, that it's going to impact your heart rate, your digestion is going to decrease, just all that enzymatic activity is going to decrease, your motility is going to decrease. So of course, you might find yourself when you're really revved up or scared or frustrated that you don't have as much of an appetite, or you may acutely notice more if something feels up for you, and it might be confused with hunger, and we might eat to ground ourselves. So if you resonate with that, I would love to hear from you below if that's something you've experienced or you're starting to notice. On Wednesday, we also talked about just more deeply a little bit of how the stuff comes about. So if you watch that video, please let me know as well. And then yesterday, we talked a little bit more in the prompt about how somatic shame is actually a thing. Like body shame can be the thing that arrests our movement forward. And we bring those old memories in from the body into our present moment. So we might be an adult, and all the people who may have body shamed you are long gone. They're not in your life anymore. But we kind of still live as if that's still happening. And so that's going to thwart your efforts to know what you let yourself be honest about what you want to eat, or you worry a lot about what people think, or you don't reach for what you really want, or you don't let yourself take in the nourishment you need. And there's a level of not accurately just knowing for sure and discerning and really trusting what's good for you and what's not. And then finally being able and willing to slow down to get your needs met. And so we talked about all those things this week. So today is just kind of another summary video, but I would love to hear from you what your questions are about this topic. So you can put in the comments below what you know about polyvagal theory, what you know about nervous system health, and how that's impacted your eating, your recovery, even your body image. So I'd love to give you a second. I'm not going to go into a real big in-depth teaching today just because I've done a lot of that this week. And really I've just barely scratched the surface on what's possible to know and to learn about it. But I don't ever like to go through information overload. So I need to hear from you. What have you noticed this week about what happens if you're in fight or flight or freeze? Or there's a word called submit. And so maybe you're doing things that you don't really want to do, but you're doing it because it doesn't rock the boat, let's say, whether it's with your food or whatever. So you don't speak up about something that's wrong or something you need because of what people might think. Good morning, everybody who's live here today. So I'd love to hear from you. Again, this is more of a Q&A and discussion of what I've talked about all this week. And I would love to hear your comments, your questions, your observations about your own experiences with this information. What are you noticing in yourself when you're with your food and with your body, how you perceive your body and its size or shape when you're revved up or when you feel shut down? So if anybody wants to make any comments about that or discuss what you're noticing. And this can look, if you think about on the physical spectrum, if your chest is feeling tight, what happens with your desire to eat? If you feel butterflies in your stomach, how do you discern your hunger and fullness accurately? Or can you? I would love to hear about what you've experienced, because these are the things we've been talking about all week. And again, I want you all to be active participants in these teachings and these videos. This stuff really is for you and for your learning and growth. And I won't know if this is resonating with you unless you let me know. So emojis, comments are all welcome here, just so I know how to help you further in these videos. and what you've, again, experienced for yourself, what you're noticing. Sometimes I do videos just to teach. Sometimes it's encouragement. Sometimes it's like, on my part, a little bit of a mini rant for the collective. And sometimes it's just like, I need you and your participation and your willingness to speak up about what's important to you. And so what's your observations? Because once you do that, other people get to learn as well. It's not really all just for me. I mean, I'm happy to give you obviously some free coaching this moment if you speak up, and it also will lift up others up as well. What I do notice is that there tends to be, and I'm just going to real briefly mention these, and if nobody has any comments or anything they want to share, then I will hop off. But what I think I'm not going to speak as much to the hunger fullness and what happens, because we did that already on Monday and Wednesday. What I'm going to speak to a little bit right this second, as I wait for comments to come in, is my observation with clients in the last, I would say, 8 or so years, is that oftentimes, if we're struggling to discern like what parts or pieces of us are in this place of not liking our bodies, I see that kind of as a projection out. So, let's say that you onto your own mirror. So let's say that you're really struggling with accepting your body size now that you're maybe not as malnourished, or you stopped restricting and binging, and things are just kind of like the dust is settling with your food. And the signals are starting to get a little bit more accurate. But what you're noticing is that, like, you're paying attention to all the body positive stuff and all the health at every size stuff, and your Instagram is full of people that are all different shapes and sizes of bodies, like learning to be good with themselves in life. It's not a requirement that you love your body. It's more about, can your body not be like the top focus of your day when you wake up all day long? And a lot of times it's hard to reach that and access that when inside there's so much like unprocessed sensation, and it gets projected out. It must be that my body is too much and too big and overwhelming, and it's all this stuff, and we make it about the body size. But what I am observing with clients, and as we dive deeper into the conversations, it tends to be true that we do feel a lot, and that we do tend to project that out onto the body versus like internally, I'm feeling a lot, and I don't know which way is up. And that's why these slowing down, these observational, these providing yourself with some sensory comforts are so important and helpful, because it helps you like slow all that down, like less white knuckle the charge around trying to control the sensation and get away from it, and be more able to be with it and be an observer of it. And once we start to do that, the charge already within 30 seconds to usually a minute can start to like open up a bit, and you create some space to recognize like, oh, like I can breathe a little bit more. There's almost space in my lungs or in my chest, or oh, I don't feel so tight in my gut. And it's not that my belly's too big or that I'm too big or too much. It's that I was feeling so much. And you start to kind of get this discernment, and you stop projecting as much on your body as the problem. So I hope that little bit of tidbit of information helps as to like what I think is going on a lot of times. Once you kind of know a lot and you're in this body all body celebrating neutral positive space, is that when you can't let it land for yourself, and not able to really truly take in the message, and it be about, well, it's good for everybody else, not for me. That may be what's happening. There's not enough space in your own system for it, for yourself. And sorry, there's a squirrel like right here, making a racket. I know, squirrel, right? But it feels like there's not enough space for my own beliefs and observation. So it becomes more about like, oh, too much other people's stuff. Ick is in my space, and that's why it feels like so much in here. So I got some comments, so I want to address those. Okay. So Michelle's saying there are days I want to control life, probably, and just thought stopping. That's really great. Um, oh, well, you don't have to have, like you mentioned, like, Michelle here is mentioning that it's tough on Instagram. It's very different than Facebook. It's like a job it's tough to keep up on Instagram. It doesn't have to be a job. It's really, these social media things need to just be a tool for supporting your journey, providing you some information or inspiration or ideas for life affirming things, like whether it's places to find clothes that fit your body, or people who look like you that you can relate to, and they're like maybe just a day or a month or a year ahead of you in terms of their journey, and it gives you hope. That's what it's for. But again, it's not meant to be a burden. So definitely make sure that we catch ourselves in any kind of FOMO suffering, because that's not what it's for. Okay, and then lastly, let's see, Michelle here. I'm trying to see your whole comment, Michelle. Okay. So you're saying your Facebook isn't popular, it's normal, then the Instagram is popular. It's like living in two worlds. Well, Michelle, be thinking about, like, what world you want to be living in, to be honest. It's really important that you put things in front of your ears and your eyes that are, again, life affirming. And if you've got things that don't feel good to you, you don't have to allow that. You can have a boundary and say no. And having a strong no is very, very important for full recovery, or full just, personhood, like being clear about like it's just like with food, getting clear like what you want to take in and what you don't, and not eating what you don't truly want or what that doesn't really satisfy you. So same kind of thing here. So I hope that helps. But I'm wondering if anybody else has any other questions or thoughts about, and again, this topic I will continue to delve into more and more as time goes by, but I just don't want to, I want you to be thinking about this is a thing. Like what's happening in your autonomic nervous system does impact your ability to feel safe enough to like connect. And especially the post I did yesterday around shame, it's really, really important to recognize. It's really important to recognize that we have a lot of food and body disembodiment and even trauma. Typically, it's tied up in a relationship. So one of the most powerful ways to be able to heal that is to have healthy, safe relationship and to have these reparative experiences. And this is why I do these videos. This is why I have the Peace with Food group. That way we can dive more deeply into that personally. And if you're interested in that group, let me know. I can put the link below if you're interested, because people are already feeling a sense of just this stuff is super figure outable, and people are making that, I call them the invisible progress steps, where it's like it doesn't feel like anything major is shifting so far with like maybe how your life looks yet, but just getting some flow going is super important. When I say flow, I mean like some really good experiences that we can like draft off of the next day and the next day and the next day. If somebody really, really heard me, and there's no judgment, but they're going to like ask me questions about like what is feeling not quite right and how come, and let me process through and have support to do that. So that's a lot of what's going on over there. If you're interested, let me know. Okay, well, I'm sorry to hear about that, Michelle, that Instagram's feeling really stressful to you. I would do some thinking about how that could be different for you, and whether if it's part of if it's just part of if it's just part of their work, how can we have like a boundary around that? But certainly use your body. Use your body as a resource to recognize when enough is enough. If you're feeling pressure, it's time to back off. Or if you're feeling pressure about a certain thing, your body's telling you too much. I don't have the capacity for this, or it's just not good for me. And some things to be thinking about. So I'm glad that you talked about this, because it's important. The body is telling you where its limits and capacity is. So thank you all so much for coming live. I appreciate you and adore you as always. I'm glad that you're here. And if you have comments that you'd like to see or topics you'd like to see me talk about in future videos, please let me know. You can email me at tracybrownrd@gmail.com. That helps me keep track of those things versus like taking things from Messenger and then over to my emails to make a list anyway. So that would help me. I know Messenger is convenient. Go ahead and do it. I don't mind that. But anyway, if you have ideas, let me know and I'll be on them. But I do have things planned for next week and the week of Thanksgiving. Don't get me wrong. But if there's a pressing request, I will probably scooch that to the front of the line. So thank you all so much for watching and take care. Bye for now.